Allen Company and Big Al will be at the I-80 Truckers Jamboree. See you there.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Reddick.
Several issues OOIDA spent years advocating for just got a big push forward thanks to the U.S. DOT. Secretary Sean Duffy just announced 9 initiatives ranging from truck parking and hours of service to stopping a speed limiter mandate and more. OOIDA's Louis Pugh stops by to talk about the big win. We continue to count down to our final episode of Landline Now with some of our best work. Every year leading up to Memorial Day, a massive group of bikers head toward the nation's capital. They're called the Run for the Wall. We'll share Reed Black's story about them today. Another feature that used to be part of our lineup is what we came to call the Semi-Supper Club. Stories about restaurants that cater to truck drivers. The first one of those was about a Cajun eatery in Louisiana. We'll bring you an encore presentation of that story today. And finally, while electric trucks aren't mainstream yet, they raise a lot of questions, including how the drive system will affect tires. Andy McCulloch of Michelin offers up some answers. And now, here's Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Mark. Big news out of Washington, D.C. today, and honestly, a big win for truck drivers. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announcing 9 separate initiatives that have truckers at front of mind. And all are things OOIDA has been advocating in support of for a number of years. Joining us to break it all down is OOIDA Executive Vice President Louis Pugh. Louis, thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's a great day to be on your show.
Yeah, I was just going to say congratulations to you and to the association. This is a big day.
Not only to the association, but to all the truckers and members out there who are active and belong to OOIDA and answer our calls to actions and stuff. See? So as I tell you, it takes a long time, but this stuff, it really does work if you can talk enough.
They are listening. Again, it's just a matter of getting it done. And again, these are 9 different things that are all wins in the eyes of OOIDA, in the eyes of truck drivers out there. Let's just kind of run through these initiatives and what they are going to do. We'll start with truck parking. Obviously, this is a huge issue that needs a lot of help, and we're going to get some.
Yeah, I mean, Secretary Duffy and the administration and stuff has made this parking a priority. They've seen the studies, heard the complaints, been out here on the road and seen the real what's happening with trucks parked everywhere. And yeah, big news coming for parking grants and expanded parking in states, and more money going to be available for states and municipalities.
And the thing I like about this too is that you can tell that the commitment is there, that this feels like a starting point for this conversation. And this is one of these things where you start these initiatives in these states and these areas, it's going to carry on to other places as well. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, and hopefully it carries on to Capitol Hill to get the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act, get Congress off their butts and get some money out there.
Yeah, well, for sure. Yeah, and Congressman Mike Bost, a friend of the show and a friend of the association as well, 100%. Has been pushing that for a number of years. So yeah, for sure. Let's move on here. This one's, I think, short and quite frankly sweet. Speed limiter mandate, goodbye. The proposal, I should say.
Yeah, see ya there. No, they think it's crazy. Under the last time President Trump was president, he did away with it and going to do away with it again. They see the safety aspects of this and how it's not safe and our truckers don't want it. And, who knows more about highway safety than the American trucker?
Yeah, and the next step on this, obviously, this administration, speed limiter mandate proposal, not going to happen. It could happen in future administrations. We've got that bill in Congress that would essentially bar FMCSA from doing that in the future.
That doesn't mean we don't get to call our congressman, because that's what we need to do now. We need to get the bill passed in Congress to kill it for good.
Right. Yep, for sure.
So our friends at the American Trucking Association can't come back and ask for it again.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that will certainly be happening probably. Hours of service flexibility. This is a big one. We should emphasize that these are pilot programs that we're talking about here. But interesting in that they're looking at this issue and maybe looking at doing some things a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big one. Truckers continually ask for more flexibility. So the one thing one pilot program is going to be the split sleeper berth, a 6 and 4, 5 and 5 is what it sounds like. So that'll be a good pilot program. They've only been supposed to do this pilot program for I don't know how long, but they've committed to doing that. The second one is, right now we have this 3 hour for adverse conditions or whatever. You can extend the 14-hour stop, however you want to say it. They want to put this in the driver's hands and let the driver have the option to use this if you want to wait out traffic, if you want to stop and get a steak, if you're not feeling good and want to take a nap, whatever. Now, the only little questionable thing here is the fact of that you could also use this while as shipper and receiver. And I know there's concerns out there, and we've already brought this to their
attention.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we've already brought this to their attention that, this could be a way that shippers, receivers, or even some motor carriers out there that are a little unscrupulous could make you use these 3 hours in their favor, not your favor. They're aware of that. And again, these are pilot programs.
Right.
They'll be receiving data and information from these pilot programs to go back and look at this. Again, this is another good time to be reaching out to your lawmakers about the Got Trucker Act, because if the overtime thing would get paid, then that problem is going to solve itself.
Yeah.
And FMCSA realizes that as well, but they don't have any oversight over pay on truckers. But, we know that this is something that OOIDA was asking for in the last hours of service change back in 2019, I guess it was. This is what we petitioned for. And, of course, we heard the same thing that I said, that it could be some people could use this the wrong way. But with that being said, we think this is a good thing. It's putting some strength in the drivers. And, sometimes truckers, you're going to have to stand up for yourselves a little bit, too, to these people and say, load my truck or, I'm out of here, whatever.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on those pilot programs and the details to come on those. A big one here, changes coming to the National Consumer Complaint Database, and I don't think it's an understatement to say that changes need to be coming to that system there, and they are.
Yep, 100%. And they're even going to add a thing for property brokers where you can file a complaint very easy on them and supposedly have people staffing it to read these complaints.
Yeah. And again, the details to come on some of these things. But again,
this is just overview.
This is what's happening right now, or will be happening in the weeks and months to come here. Double brokering, a huge issue right now. That's something also that the DOT is looking at.
They know the double brokering issue. We met with them, and 100%. They're looking into that and how to fight against that.
And also, keeping the pre-2000 truck engines on the ELD exemption list. That's another thing.
Yes, they have no taste to remove that. They're 100% in favor of leaving that exemption in place.
And then we're seeing some updates as well coming to the data queue process and the driver resource page on their website there at USDOT. This speaks really just to the big deregulatory policy overall of this administration. And again, we can't stress this enough. These are positive
These
changes
are positive
here.
things. They're saying the right things. They're listening. It seems they're listening. These are all things that OOIDA has been fighting for. Again, this is just out there. This is fresh. This is a 3,000-foot level, maybe a 30,000-foot level of what's to come. Stay tuned to this show. Watch our social media. Watch Landline Magazine. If you have more questions, call our compliance department. As more information comes out, you will be the first to know, and we will keep you informed of how this is going.
And the good news is that, OOIDA, you've been instrumental in making these things happen. You're going to continue to be in conversation with, with the USDOT, FMCSA on these things to make sure that we're kind of following the process there and going the right way.
That's what we're here for, and that's what we do. You got to play within the system if you want to change the system, and that's what we're doing.
Louis Pugh, Executive Vice President of OOIDA. Again, congratulations on this. Big news. We'll continue to follow it. We'll have much more, as you said there, throughout the coming days. But we appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me, and thank you, truckers, for what you do. And thanks for reaching out to your lawmakers in Congress and FMCSA and tell them how you think.
Mark Reddick, back to you.
Thanks, Scott. Next, we'll bring back our story about the Run for the Wall. We'll be back in just a moment with more news and information. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
High heat and low lubricity can break your diesel fuel down fast. Summer driving means crowded roads, more stress, dust, and a bigger risk of costly engine damage. Howe's Diesel Defender protects from the inside out, cleaning, lubricating, and fighting injector wear. Visit howsproducts.com.
With rising costs affecting everyone, switching to a genuine Vibertech TVD viscous damper can help you avoid expensive repairs and downtime. Save money and keep your truck running smooth with Vibertech TVD. Recommended replacement at 500,000 miles or 15,000 hours.
Say the words Memorial Day, and we Vietnam vets think of a memorial that's far away but sacred to us. This is Reed Black reporting for Landline Now. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the Wall, is made of polished black granite and is 500 feet long, so it can accommodate the more than 58,000 names that are engraved on it.
There's a wall in Washington, and it's made of cold black granite. And they say 60,000 names are etched there in it. And that
Every year, bikers who are veterans of Vietnam and other wars ride cross-country so they can be at the wall on Memorial Day weekend. This year, one of two large groups that left California on May 14th passed OOIDA headquarters on I-70 in Green Valley, Missouri. Many of us went out to wave and cheer as the long procession of motorcycles rumbled by. They rode two abreast in the right lane with their headlights on as cars and trucks passed them on the left. The bikers call the ride the Run for the Wall.
And why do you make the Run for the Wall?
Well, it's, to be honest with you, kind of selfish because it's really a healing process for me. It gives me a whole lot of benefits and, just the welcome home and stuff like that we didn't have when we got home from Vietnam. And so it's more healing for me, but we also want to bring attention to the POW and MIA issue that we definitely have still going on that we need to get some kind of solution to.
At the Petro truck stop down the road, the bikers pull in for free gas, courtesy of the American Legion, and a free lunch, courtesy of local volunteers like Dennis Lawton.
What are we having today?
Well, they got it over here, the smoked brisket, the whole hog, turkey, pork loins, they got the whole thing. Chips, whatever they want, drinks, and all they can eat.
Good.
Yeah.
Smells good.
Yeah. It's Kansas City.
Yeah.
The food, fuel, rest stops, and in many areas, police escorts are all carefully planned ahead. The planning includes breaking the group of more than 300 bikers into platoons of about 40 riders each. Veteran Ralph Ferguson is an assistant platoon leader.
Okay, and what does an assistant platoon leader do?
Well, we lead a group of today I think we have about 38 in our platoon, and there's 8 platoons. And we kind of keep, we move them from one lane to the other and slow them down and speed them up, and they more or less, we set the pace for them.
And I guess in urban areas, that's a bigger challenge than out on the rural interstates.
Well, the interstates, we ride side by side, and that's a little challenging. And on the rural roads, we ride staggered. We just move back one bike length on the right, and for the turns and that, try to keep it tight.
Now, you rode last year, you say?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. And you're a Navy veteran?
Yes. I'm not a Vietnam vet, but I am a Navy vet.
Had you been to the wall before?
Last year, yes.
That was your first time?
Yes. This is my second trip.
What were your impressions?
Awesome. Just very awesome. Just overwhelming when you get there. There's probably 7,000 motorcycles going to be there this week over Memorial Day weekend. And they're coming in from everywhere. Now, we're meeting a southern group that right outside of D.C. Our group, when we left Ontario, was double what it is here. And we took the central route, and then there's the southern route. We'll meet up outside of D.C. and we'll all go in together.
While Ferguson is marshaling his platoon down the interstate, veteran Dave Talley and another biker, both of whom are professional truck drivers, use the CBs on their bikes to communicate with the truckers in the other lane.
This year, the leadership has asked me to put a team together to talk to the big trucks to let them know what we're doing. We generally travel 5 miles an hour under the posted speed limit. We try to get them in the hammer lane and get them to go by us. The bikes all know they're there. They can feel the trucks coming up behind them because of the air that comes off of them. We want them to stay in the center of their lane, stay off of the rumble strips, and go. When they start putting their four-ways on, it confuses the cars. We just want them to drive just like every day. If they need a hole or anything to get off an off-ramp, they can brake for bounce or crazy. We'll come right back to them and walk them through it. Last year at this point, we'd worked at around about 20% of blankety-blank bikers, but we try to keep the trucks aware of what we're doing, and most of the guys respect what we're doing because it's a mission. This is not a party. It's not a rally. It's just something we got to do. We've got 1,700 people we want back. We want it easy for our troops coming back from Iraq. We want them to be able to wear their uniforms proudly. So that's it.
Talley says the bikers are told that if they pass a truck, they need to be able to see the top of the truck's trailer in their rear view before pulling back over. All sorts of people make the run for the wall, not just vets. Wives go, so do friends, and at least one veteran's elderly mother were among the riders. The mom is Californian Mary Schreiber, riding on the back of her son's bike and decked out in her own black leathers and stars and stripes do-rag.
My son is the one that talked me into it. I says, me ride a motorcycle? You got to be kidding. He says, Mom, says there's a lot of them that are in the back of the motorcycle with their brothers, husbands, and what have you. I says, holy.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way.
Well, it's important to him to get to the wall, I imagine, isn't it?
Right. He had gone last year by himself. So this time, I'm going with him, and being that he has this honor of presenting the wreath, I wasn't about to miss that.
He's going to lay a wreath that was carried all the way from the West Coast to put at the wall.
Right. From what I understand, there's going to be a wreath from the West Coast, one from the East Coast, one from the South, and one from the North. His job will be from the West Coast.
And did I understand your friend who was sitting here to say that you're 83?
No, I'm going to be 88.
88.
In October.
They're riding in platoons in almost military fashion, but each biker, whether a veteran of Vietnam or some other war, has their own reason for making the run for the wall. For Gulf War veteran Jim Daw, part of it is what he sees of America along the way.
The entire run and just seeing the people that come out and support the riders, you don't get to see a lot on TV or hear a lot or read a lot in the paper about the good of this country. You know, unfortunately, it's a lot of gloom and doom. And coming across and seeing on the overpasses the people just clapping and saluting and waving the flag just kind of restores your faith in this country. You get to see the good of this country, and that's the reason I ride.
Did you happen to notice a whole bunch of people out in front of a building about 5 miles back waving flags?
I certainly did.
Well, that's my outfit, OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association.
Yeah, there were people out on the right near the road, and then there were people up on the second floor even waving. That God bless you folks for coming out and supporting us. I can't tell you how good that makes us feel.
The bikers left the Petro the same way they arrived, 2 by 2, rank and file, keeping it tight. Headlights on, flags waving, a rolling army stretching as far as the eye could see.
heading east towards the wall, that sacred place.
My name is Steve Engelbrecht, and I'm from Huntington Beach, California. And this is the third or fourth time that I'll be going to the wall with the Run for the Wall group. And I first started with them in 1999. And it was my first real experience having had any meaningful conversation with another Vietnam vet was on Run for the Wall. And since that time, I've been able to make contact with a number of the men that I had served with. And I served in a special unit called 5th Marine Regimental Scout Snipers. And there were 43 of them from 1966 to February of 1968. And as a result of hooking up with Run for the Wall, it gave me the impetus to go on and find these other fellows. And we've had a few reunions. And I feel very fortunate that in February, just a few months ago, I went back to Vietnam with two Marines that I had served with. And as luck would have it, on the 10th day of February of 1968, I was wounded in Hue City during the Tet Offensive in February of 68. And on February 10th, the same day of 2008, I was standing in the same spot in Hue City where I had been wounded 40 years before. And this is a terribly healing experience. I generally find myself crying watching reruns of Gunsmoke, and I can still get terribly emotional when I'm around vets. But it's better. Thanks for letting me share.
Tears they fall as his memories gather from the boy who filled his heart with pride. Is now but a name that's been etched in the side of this wall in Washington. There's a
Cargo theft is reaching epidemic proportions in parts of the country, with those states that contain ports taking the brunt of the problem. The Combating Organized Retail Crime Act is designed to help law enforcement combat that problem. It would strengthen legal tools for local law enforcement, expand money laundering statutes, target prosecution of organized retail and supply chain theft groups, and create an office in the Department of Homeland Security to coordinate those efforts. The bill is H.R. 2853 in the House and S. 1404 in the Senate. The issue of English proficiency is hot in trucking right now, with the president's executive order calling for enforcement of the requirement and then actions by both DOT and CVSA to enforce it. The issue is one of safety. If an electronic traffic sign says there's traffic stopped in front of you on the interstate, if a sign says bridge out, or in the case where an inspector tells you that they are under the truck so don't move it, the truck driver needs to understand. A bill would now make the president's order law of the land. It's called Connor's Law, and the bill number is H.R. 3608. You can support either bill two ways. You can call 202-224-3121 or use the website fightingfortruckers.com. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
At Truck Stop, we've built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truck Stop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
Firestone's FD694 drive tire for long haul and regional applications now delivers 126,000 more removal miles than the Yokohama TY517 MC2. Contact your Firestone commercial dealer to learn more.
Landline now, I'm Reed Black. Welcome back to the show. It's said an army runs on its stomach, and while truckers also require some diesel to get the job done, good meals are a definite necessity. Every trucker on the road has his or her favorite local joint, a family-run place, a hole in the wall, an eatery with a unique approach or special dish that you just can't get anywhere else. We've asked America's truckers where we can find their favorites, and several have offered up some very tempting morsels to add to our personal menu. Here's our host, Mark Rettig, with the first of a series that we're calling the Semi-Supper Club.
Many, many years ago, before America became a nation, there was a settlement along the North Atlantic coast inhabited by a people called the Arcadians. They emigrated to the New World from France, and their land was part of that nation's colonies in the Americas. But in 1713, more than 60 years before the United States declared its independence, Great Britain took possession of those lands by force, changing the name of the place to the now more familiar Nova Scotia. After a time of harassment and sometimes oppression, many of the Arcadians fled south to another New World colony of the French, Louisiana. And there, over time, they became known by a shortened version of the word Arcadian. They became the Cajuns. Those Cajuns are known for many things these days, but like much of French culture, they are perhaps known best for their food. Trucker and OOIDA member Brian Muirhead is a resident of Louisiana and an aficionado of Cajun food. But when you ask Brian what makes food Cajun, his answer might surprise you.
Well, the three main ingredients for Cajun food are onions, celery, and garlic. And, you know, of course, most people think when you hear Cajun, that means cayenne pepper and lots of it. And, of course, we like our spicy foods, but those were the three main ingredients. And if you like those three ingredients well cooked and mixed with any kind of meat, really, then you can probably get along well with Cajun food.
The state of Louisiana is filled with restaurants offering different varieties of Cajun cuisine. But for Brian, there's one that he'd prefer to go to before any other, and that's Pochet's Market and Restaurant in the hamlet of Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, a town of just under 8,000 souls that calls itself the crawfish capital of the world. The restaurant has a long history in the area, and the family that owns it tells the tale on the eatery's website. In 1859, Antoine and Alida Pochet came to the area, setting up a store and a cotton gin near a village that bore their family's name. Many years and 7 children later, that first family business ended sadly when the store burned, but the family had permanently set up shop in the area. It was much later than that, all the way up in 1962, that Lug Pochet, Antoine and Alida's grandson, decided to open a market and restaurant with his wife, Eleanor. Lug retired in 1976, but his son, Floyd, took over the family business and still runs it today with his wife, Karen. They now have a loyal flock of customers, including trucker Brian Muirhead. Muirhead says that for him, finding the eatery was just a matter of location. His home base is the nearby town of Lafayette, Louisiana.
Well, I'm from the area, and a friend who works over in the Breaux Bridge area recommended it one day for us to have lunch, and it's been a favorite ever since.
Unfortunately, Brian isn't able to eat at Pochet's nearly as often as he would like. His runs take him all over. At one time, he hauled mainly to Florida, but now his hauls can take him just about anywhere. But when he does get home, he heads down for some of his favorite dishes at Pochet's. Now, if you ask Brian, he'll tell you that he doesn't have a single favorite dish. He claims it's all so good that there's no way to narrow it down to one particular offering. The menu changes every day, the variety is great, and, he adds, they cook it right. But if you press him just a little bit, he does offer a pretty interesting look into what kind of food you can find at Pochet's.
Okay, well, all of them are going to be spicy, so be prepared. It is spicy food. They have an excellent stuffed pork chop. The rice dressing also is really good, and potato salad. Of course, the potato salad isn't very spicy, but just anything. They have just a lot of different Cajun dishes like that. They have on Fridays a seafood type of medley with crawfish and shrimp, and also fried catfish.
Like any good restaurant, though, Pochet's does have a specialty of the house. Floyd Pochet, the proud proprietor of the market and restaurant, says it's the crawfish étouffée.
It's crawfish. I don't know if they know what a crawfish is, the little red mud bugs or whatever that crawl in the swamp over here. And you gather a whole batch of those and you peel them up, and where you just have the meat, the tails, and you smother it in butter and onions and bell peppers and seasoning like that, and a little bit of roux, and a lot of cayenne pepper.
I'm gonna get my big black skillet, put some oil right in it, heat it up just as hot as I can. Put a little flour, some onion too, and now you're cooking that Cajun roux. Cajun roux, where it all comes from, Cajun roux. Gonna make me a song. Tastes so good when you cook it just right. Man, that gumbo out of sight.
But that's not the only thing on the menu. Not by far. On his most recent trip to the restaurant, Brian Muirhead tried the stuffed pork chop, and he says it's a treat worth trying.
Yeah, well, that's the one that I had most recently about 3 or 4 days ago when me and some family members went there, and it was excellent. I actually asked them what they stuffed it with, and they actually stuffed it with pork. They grind up some pork and stuff it on in there.
But of course, there's more to it than that. That's always the story in Cajun cooking. And although we're sure that the exact recipe is a well-kept family secret, Floyd Pochet was willing to share a little bit of information on what makes that stuffed pork chop so special.
Stuffed pork chops is stuffed with more pork, like you said, and with onions, bell peppers, and garlics, and seasoned and cayenne pepper and all that stuff, breadcrumbs, and to make it all hold together. It's kind of like a meatloaf type stuffing, and we slit a hole in about a 3/4 inch pork chop and fill it up with more pork, so it's like a seasoned piece of meat in the pork chop.
While that stuffed pork chop may indeed be a treat, there are plenty of other choices. On the Pochet's website, they seem particularly proud of the boudin, a kind of Cajun sausage, and in many Cajun joints considered a standard menu item. Brian says he hasn't actually tried the dish at Pochet's, but boudin, he says, is one of those dishes that can vary from one place to another.
Everybody has their own different spin on what boudin should taste like, so it's different every different place where you buy it.
As for Floyd and the other folks at Pochet's, they have no hesitation saying why they're proud of their version.
Because we put meat in it.
Is that different than normal?
Yeah, a lot of people say they put meat, but they don't put very much. Mostly it's rice. It's the Chinese version of boudin. It's just rice. Ours has a lot of meat and seasoning and onions and stuff like that in it.
While it does sit off the highway a little ways, a couple of miles off the interstate by both Floyd's and Brian's reckoning, Pochet's is very glad to have truckers stop by, and they have a good-sized lot with plenty of room for tractor-trailers. However, truckers are only occasionally part of the clientele. Most of the customers are either locals or folks originally from the area who have moved elsewhere to find jobs, but who come back on occasion to get a taste of the hometown. They also have a good business in the market portion of Pochet's, which sells packaged foods and does mail order as well. Don't expect a fancy-looking building when you drive up. Floyd himself describes his eatery as a flat-roofed country-style place outside, with white walls, wood tables, and red chairs on the inside. Pretty plain, but full of what really matters: great food. As for how to get there, well, the best directions always come from another trucker, and Brian Muirhead knows the path to Pochet's very well indeed.
When you get to the Pilot truck stop in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, which is at exit 109 on Interstate 10, just instead of turning toward the Pilot, turn north and go about 2 miles up, and there's a little road on the left. There's a tractor dealership there, like John Deere tractors or something like that. Turn left onto that little bitty road, and that road is only 1 block long. When you get to the end of it, that's where Poche's is. You can turn into their nice, large gravel parking lot and park there to get your lunch. And then to get back, all you have to do is U-turn back onto the road. Very easy, and it's worth traveling the 2 extra miles.
Poche's is open Monday through Saturday from 6 in the morning to 8 in the evening, and on Sunday, the hours are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The restaurant offers daily plate lunch specials from 10:30 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon every day, and the dinner menu is served from 2 in the afternoon till 8 in the evening. They also serve a separate Sunday menu, which is served from 10:30 a.m. to 5 in the evening on that day only. The restaurant accepts cash, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. Floyd said the prices for a meal range from an extremely reasonable $6.50, with the high end of the menu at a still economical price of $10.25. You can find out more by going to www.pochesmarket.com. That's POCHESMARKET.com. You can also call Poche's at 1-800-3-POCHES or at 337-332-2108. We'll have all that information on our website, Landline Now, under the heading Heard on the Air.
Je suis parti pour Camboré, pour t'aimer toute la soirée, rencontrer les deux jolies, Anna et Louise. Anna la Cajun et Louise la belle créole m'ont fait danser toute la soirée. Depuis ce temps-là, je peux plus m'en passer de Louisiana. Louisiana, les deux jolies que mon cœur aime. Louisiana, Anna et Louise de Louisiana. Je ne peux pas choisir entre ces deux belles señoritas. Je peux plus m'en passer de Louisiana.
Reporting for Landline Now, I'm Mark Reddy. Freight fraud has become a major issue for many truckers, and it's costing people in the industry real money. Enough money that in some cases it can even put them out of business, especially in hard times. Now Congress is paying attention, and some members of the House and the Senate have introduced bills to combat this problem. S. 337 in the Senate and H.R. 880 in the House would give FMCSA the power to fight freight fraud. It's well known among truckers that we have a shortage of safe, secure parking, and for the past few years, a group of congressmen have worked to help solve that. Now, that effort is back before Congress again. The Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act, or H.R. 1659, would dedicate $755 million to increasing the number of actual truck parking spaces. For most American workers, putting in time over 40 hours of their job means time and a half pay, but not for truckers, as we all know. Now Congress is taking a look at a bill that would change all of that. The Guaranteeing Overtime for Truckers, or Got Truckers Act, would require overtime pay for truck drivers. The bill is H.R. 1962 in the House and S. 893 in the Senate. Now, to show your support for either one of those bills, you can do it one of two ways. You can call your lawmakers in the House and Senate through the U.S. Capitol switchboard at 202-224-3121, and you can also write a letter by using the website fightingfortruckers.com. We'll be back in just a moment with more news and information. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Welcome back to Landline Now. The trucking industry is changing rapidly with the introduction of electric vehicles from light commercial vans all the way up to Class 8 tractors. Today we're going to take a look at the way that's affecting the tire selection process along with performance expectations. And helping us do that today is Andy McCulloch of Michelin. Andy is the company's senior CES engineer for the West Coast, and he joins us on the line now. Andy, good to have you back.
Hi, Scott. Always a pleasure to be on the show. And thanks for bringing up a topic that really represents one of the most fundamental changes in the industry in a very long time.
Yeah, and thanks in advance for bringing some light to this topic, which we're going to do here over the next several minutes. Let's start with what we know here, and I guess perhaps more importantly, what we don't know when it comes to electric trucks and tires. Considering obviously that the electric truck drivetrain is such a different concept altogether, do we know a whole lot about how tires are going to perform there, or even if the current offerings are going to work on an electric truck? What do we know? What do we not know?
Well, Michelin's actually been involved in tire development for fully electric urban buses for a number of years. So, of course, the next logical step is fully electric commercial trucks. But the experience with the buses has taught us a few things over the years, which I'll share. But I also want to discuss the tire selection and the maintenance compared to a diesel equivalent. The other thing that's important is to determine where advancements in tire technology need to take us in order to really keep up with electric truck development.
Yeah, I mean, like most things in life, this is an ongoing process. But again, based on what we know, what are some key things you've learned about tires and electric vehicles, and obviously more specifically for our purposes, tires and electric trucks?
Well, it turns out that one of the most important tire characteristics for fuel economy in conventional trucks or diesel trucks is also a huge contributor for extending the range of an electric truck, and that's rolling resistance. So we know that the rolling resistance of the tires can be responsible for as much as 33% of the fuel consumed in a standard ICE vehicle or a diesel truck. But this is even more critical on an electric vehicle because it greatly impacts the operating range of the vehicle. And given the current nature of charging time and infrastructure, the operating range can be a big concern for a fleet. The other factor to take into consideration is that these vehicles are actually heavier than a diesel truck due to the weight of the batteries. And this really impacts the load-carrying capability and limits of the vehicle. So we're already seeing regulation changes that allow for an increase in the gross vehicle weight limits for alternative fuel trucks by 2,000 pounds or so. And we're working to address the load-carrying capability of our tires as well. And this is really especially true on our steer axles, which are already close to their capacity on diesel trucks. But we can also expect a significantly faster wear rate on drive tires fitted on electric tractors and straight trucks, regardless of the tire brand.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think I probably understand why that is, but you are the expert here, so I'll let you kind of explain why that is. But a faster wear rate, what's behind that specifically?
Well, it's really due to a number of things. As I mentioned before, the tread compounds that are designed to provide the best range are not necessarily going to be the best for wear, especially in the sort of applications that most electric trucks are currently employed in, which is very local, regional applications. But in addition to that, the drive configuration on a lot of electric trucks is a big factor as well. A lot of them are a 6x2 tractor or a 4x2 truck. And in these cases, all the torque is transferred to one drive axle instead of two, like on a 6x4 truck. So this can result in the tires wearing twice as fast. And while that's true for diesel trucks as well, it's certainly more of a factor with electric drivetrains due to the fact the electric trucks have no torque curve like a traditional ICE vehicle does, but rather they apply full torque on acceleration. Another factor is the torque value. So generally, the higher the amount of torque being applied, the faster the tires wear rate, right? And electric trucks have a tremendous amount of torque versus a diesel equivalent. Although electric truck manufacturers have been developing how quickly they ramp up the torque for pulling power, there's still a considerable amount of wear being experienced by the tires as a result of the drivetrain. And the other thing to consider is that the electric trucks have the ability to slow the vehicle down without using conventional friction brakes. Nearly all electric vehicles use what's called regenerative braking. which actually helps to put more charge back into the battery for extended range. But once again, that results in a lot of torque transfer of the tires, which can accelerate the wear and fatigue.
Yeah, and that all makes sense as you explain it there. I can tell you faster wear is not really going to be a selling point for anybody out there, but, we control the things we can control. So in this case, when we're talking about the rate of wear, what are some things that a driver can do to kind of mitigate that aspect of all of this? And I would assume it comes down to maintenance.
Exactly. Maintenance is a big part of it. So let's start with that. One of the maintenance items that really doesn't change between a diesel and an electric truck is air pressure. So you still need to match the pressure with the load that you're carrying according to the data tables for the tire manufacturer. Since we know there's an increase in axle weight and also higher gross vehicle weight, pressure maintenance is going to be key to preventing overload situations. Unfortunately, this may result in having two different sets of air pressure specifications, one for electric vehicles, one for diesels within the individual fleet. But whether it's diesel or electric, improper air pressure will have a negative impact on your range for electric drives, irregular wear, and casing fatigue.
Yeah. So as with any new technology or product line, there are obviously going to be challenges. I think we all understand that. And I suspect a lot of them, with regard to this, we don't even know quite yet what they are. But again, as I said earlier, we control what we can control. And in this case, we work with what we know. So when it comes to the successful adoption of electric trucks, what are some of the keys to getting that done, in your opinion?
Well, the tire manufacturer, we believe that doing our part to support the electric vehicle movement includes educating the consumer on selection and maintenance. And what works well on a diesel truck may not work so well on an electric truck. So I think we'll need a strong emphasis on training, since there'll be a learning curve for tire technicians, mechanics, and drivers within fleets. As for the industry itself, I think the current obstacles that need to be overcome are really range anxiety and charging time. These will eventually be overcome through technological advancements, as well as training of industry personnel and familiarization, that sort of thing. Initial capital costs are an immediate concern, the cost of the vehicles themselves as well. But there are a number of federal and state level programs in place to help mitigate these costs. And as the industry develops, the initial vehicle costs should come down and bring itself more in line with ICE vehicles and diesel-powered vehicles.
Again, this is all moving very fast right now, but if I can ask you to take out that crystal ball that I know you have right on your desk there, what does the future look like when it comes to tire design?
Well, there's no magic formula when it comes to this. The key is for tire engineers and designers to really try and ensure that one, we increase the load carrying capacity, especially for the steer position of the tires. And we might find this requires introducing totally new sizes and pressure tables in an effort to do that. We also want to reduce rolling resistance to help supplement the range of the electric vehicle. And we want to improve the wear characteristics, although this can be challenging since we often give up performances in one area to gain it in another. But finally, the compounds and the tread designs will have to be more versatile by straddling across conventional usage boundaries that currently exist. And that can be extremely challenging for engineers in the industry. But it's a challenge, I think, that we're up to and that we can overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, certainly an interesting and exciting time. We'll all be waiting to see where all of this ends up. But as far as this goes, we appreciate you coming on and talking about all this and giving us your insights and, giving us kind of a glimpse into the future as well. We appreciate it as always, Andy.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks for having me on the show.
Our thanks once again to Andy McCulloch of Michelin, and our thanks to you for tuning in. That's our show for today. We're back tomorrow with another, so we hope to see you then. Either way, take care and drive safe out there.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife,
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome.
And I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us! Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.